This celebrity interview is brought to you by On Ice Promotions.
Welcome back to the sports news. CW57 Sports caught up with Dorthy Hamill in a very special interview earlier this week. Here's that report.
Olympic gold medal winning skater Dorthy Hamill marks several milestones this year. It's the 40th anniversary of her winning performance at the 1976 Winter Olympics. She also turned 60 this year and celebrates 8 years of being cancer-free. That is great. Dorthy, looking back, what was it like for you winning gold, and how has the skating world changed since then?
Oh, it was wonderful to win the gold medal back in the 70s. Life was very simple, and figure skating was very simple, and it was just an incredible experience. And seeing the skaters today, they're so different. You know, they're doing all these triples and spins with their feet behind their head, and I just can't even imagine what the training is like. You know, if I think I'm hurting from all the falls I took, I can't imagine the falls they take nowadays. But I feel very lucky that I was in the era that I was.
Yeah, it seems like nowadays, especially in the skating world, it's a power game, isn't it?
It's power, it's, you know, we had all those compulsory figures that were very time consuming. And until you got to a certain level, they were really boring to do. Watching, they were never interesting. So now they don't have to do those, so they have lots of time to work on all those blur spins and you know, jumps and combinations and footwork, and that's a whole different game.
Absolutely. You know, it's great to hear that you're cancer-free. Tell us a little bit about your breast cancer journey.
So I was diagnosed 8 years ago, and I have the most common kind of cancer, which is hormone receptor positive. And I had surgery, and I had radiation, no chemotherapy, thank goodness, and then on the anti-estrogen medicines. And so when I was diagnosed, it was 5 years. That would be the recommendation, to stay on those medicines. My body does not really tolerate them very well. And so when I went in for my checkup last July or June, my doctor said, you know, we recommend you staying on these for another 5 years. And I thought, oh gosh, you know, I eked by and was able to do the 5 years. I'm not so sure the quality of life is going to be all that great for the next 5 years. So around that time, I discovered that there's a test that's very new, didn't require any other surgery, but they could take the tissue from the tumor I had, and it would determine whether me staying on those medicines for an additional 5 years would benefit or, you know, make the risk of my cancer returning less. And as it turned out, it really wasn't going to benefit me to stay on those medicines, so I was able to come off of them. So we started a campaign called BeWiserAboutBreastCancer.org, and it's a place where people, women, doctors can go to find out about this test that's very easy to order, to help them to determine, to educate themselves, to find out more about this potential, you know, the change in treatment. But, you know, it's education, and it's empowering women to be more proactive and have more input on what their treatment. They can discuss it with their doctor, because the treatment for me isn't necessarily the same as the treatment for someone else. So that's why we encourage people to go to the BeWiserAboutBreastCancer.org and learn about this test.
And the empowerment, of course, very important. Also, there's been a lot of advancements, I think, in the treatment of breast cancer over the last few decades. What can women do to make sure that they're on the plan that's right for them?
Well, that's it. It's all about the treatment. And even though I have the hormone receptor positive cancer, breast cancer, others that have that may not have the same treatment I do. It depends on the size of your tumor and, you know, how far it may have gone into your lymph nodes. And so that's part of what, you know, this test can help. And Dr. Lauer here probably has more sort of detail of what women can do other than, you know, self-exam and the usual things that we hear about.
Well, you're absolutely right. Breast cancer treatment today is very complex and not one size fits all. So it's important that women and families and caregivers realize that there are lots of options out there. And we know today that one of the ways to better tailor treatment is with a new strategy called gene profiling. Whereas Dorothy mentioned, we take a piece of tissue, analyze it more carefully for its genetic traits or how we think it'll behave. And this analysis can often help us answer questions like how likely is it that the early stage cancer will come back between years 5 and 10, and also how likely that a patient might benefit from taking 10 years of a hormone therapy versus stopping at 5. We do not want to undertreat patients. Hormone therapy is life-saving, but at the same time we don't want to overtreat because these pills have all kinds of side effects. And if we can avoid younger premenopausal women going into early menopause and not being able to have children, that's something we would like to do. At the same time, we want to save her life. Likewise, in postmenopausal women, avoiding some of the fatigue and musculoskeletal aches and pains and issues can be very, very helpful. So it's a balance. We want to make sure that we have information upon which women can make more informed decisions about the next best steps. And that's a partnership, and that's really what our campaign is about. It's that partnership or that empowerment between patients and their healthcare givers.
Absolutely. Doctor, thank you. And Dorothy Hamill, thank you as well. I know it was great for me to talk to a legend, so we really appreciate your time. And
Thank
yeah,
you. Thanks for taking the time.
You bet. Congratulations on
Thank you.
being 8 years cancer-free.
Thanks so much to Rich and to Dorothy Hamill for a very special report. We're going to be back with more sports news after the break.
This celebrity interview is brought to you by On Ice Promotions.